At that time, a friend of mine and I started talking about a new idea for a video app. And a lot of my sort of skills that I learned in working with teams to build technology for the animation company, we turned that into building a video app for iPhone. That was called Nomi, and Apple acquired that in 2015. So that's how my journey at Apple started. My first meeting at Apple was pitching Johnny Ive in the design studio, my phone app. I was very excited. It was sort of this sort of entrepreneur's dream, right? Where like the curtain opens and they're like, "We want to buy your company." I was very excited. But that kicked off a career in consumer tech at Apple, where I led a special projects division in the services group at Apple. I was sort of like one of the 0 to 1 guys at Apple. I would be tasked with like new product ideas. Sometimes that was leadership saying we need a solution for this. Sometimes it was me saying, hey, we should do this. But I led a cross-functional team that innovated a number of new products that shipped on iPhone and iPad, and also dealt a lot with other platforms. I would say my focus there, we looked at a lot, we touched a lot of the Apple ecosystem, but my focus there really refined over time to on-device intelligence while retaining customer privacy. I was very excited about being able to design experiences that enabled great customer experiences without allowing Apple or any developer to see customer data from the device. So privacy was a major focus of mine. When I saw Eric talk about the Up phone and Unplugged, my Eric Prince, who's one of the founders of the company, last summer, I saw him on a podcast. I was already very invested in the sort of privacy space at Apple. And I had, over time increasingly felt like we really need a third platform. Apple and Google are great at what they do, but I think in a lot of ways, although they're different companies, they're very similar in a lot of ways. Their business models are symbiotic. Apple is in many ways a leader in privacy, but it also sells real estate to Google for a lot of money to be the default search engine on iPhone. So I felt that, the need for both a new platform that really focused on customer privacy big time, like completely, not partially, but completely, as well as a third platform that was less willing to control what information could be seen by customers on the platform. This was another area that I'd become increasingly concerned about, was the US having really two ways of experiencing the internet, and both of them sort of agreeing on what can and can't be said. And I think for a lot of people, whether it was COVID stuff or other stuff that at certain times was politically sensitive, and then it turned out to be like obviously true and something we've all accepted, that felt like another reason for a third platform. So when I saw Eric talking about Unplugged, I was very interested. I actually initiated contact. I reached out. My initial propellant was just as a supporter, sort of like, hey, listen, I'm on the inside of this. I think what you're doing is great. I actually had a little constructive feedback about how they could sort of think about things. Nothing, proprietary or whatever, but that just began a relationship. And the more I leaned in and the more I learned, really the more concerned I became about the status quo of the two dominant platforms, and the more optimistic I became about the prospects for a new alternative independent platform. So that's brought me to the final decision, which I made last May. This was a very challenging decision for me. I mentioned I have 6 kids. Apple was very good to me, and it was a hard call, but it really, in the end, it, for many, many reasons, sort of coming together, it felt like absolutely the right thing to do.